Well, we're back with you. Thanks for joining us here on a very active Monday. Market-wise, it doesn't get much more volatile and exciting than what we are seeing today. We are joined now by Chris Swift of Swift Trading Incorporated, based in Nashville. And the markets all got off to a crazy start last night. I got an alert before it was even bedtime last night about the crude oil market falling out of bed, stock market going down, being halted at times, and all sorts of triggers going off this morning. The stock market got triggered on the open this morning.
It did.
It halted for about 15 minutes, resumed trading, and then it actually lifted, didn't it? And now the livestock trade is coming back.
It did.
And we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay, all right.
I want to look at the grain markets here because they're under a lot of pressure. Let's see if they're hanging on to those big gains or losses that we had early on. You know what? They're lifting too. So maybe things aren't as bad as what it may have appeared early in the day on the ag commodities. Let's take a look here. May corn down 5 1/4 at 370 3/4. The December contract down 6 1/4 at 375 1/4. So it is lower, and it's fairly sharply lower, but it's not the end of the world. Now looking at the soybean trade here, on the May contract, we are down 22 1/4 at 869. Nowhere close to going limit down in beans, but it is sharply lower. We have September down 20 3/4 at 881. Okay, let's take a look at the wheat market. In the wheat in Chicago, we have May down 6 3/4 at 509. It has come off of its earlier low here by about 3 cents. In the Kansas City market right now, you currently have May down 10 1/4 at 436, but hold the phone, it's 3 cents off its earlier low, so maybe things are starting to stabilize here. In the Minneapolis wheat market, you have the May contract now 9 1/2 lower at 516. It's a penny off of its low. And in the cotton market, cotton had some big moves there at times. December cotton down 136 points at 62.45, but also a little bit off of its low. So maybe a glimmer of hope here. Things are maybe starting to rally a little bit, or do you think this is a little knee-jerk thing after that sharp loss?
Well, there's generally a lot of ripples in the pond after you throw a big rock in it.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
So there's probably a lot more to come. Whether it's all going to be in one direction or not, probably not. Very volatile. We've noticed that option premiums have swelled greatly due to volatility premium. So we're being overly cautious on anything that we're going to try to do today. But wherever one item tends to make for a hiccup to somebody, it makes for a benefit to somebody else. And that's kind of what we're looking at this morning, that if we're going to remain in business, then there are markets that we can benefit from this. And one of them is low energy prices. We can go out and top off our farm tanks with a little bit lesser fuel prices for the springtime. And money, we know that the price of money has gone down dramatically in the last 4 or 5 days. Restructure that debt. Use what's available to you while it's here.
That a way to look at the bright side.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, and I have been hearing about that a lot. So, yeah, long-term interest rates may be affected here.
Yes.
Okay, we'll come back here in a moment, and then we'll take a look at our livestock trade, and then, of course, talk about some of this other stuff, too. We'll do that when we come back. Well, we noted earlier where the grain markets are starting to come up just a little bit off of their low of the day already. The stock market I checked, and it's only down 1,400 points right now. It had been down over 1,800, almost 1,900 points, and then it just halted. It hit the what they call a circuit breaker there, and so it had to halt for 15 minutes. Then it started trading, and it came off of that now. Cattle open lock limit down. We had live cattle limit down. We had feeder cattle limit down. Let's see what they're doing right now. You might be surprised. April live cattle only $1.85 lower now at 103.90. Whoa, that's quite a turnaround already. June down 160 at 98.42. We almost gained back half of what we had lost at the opening bell now. August down 170 at 99.38. And on the high of the day, I might add. Let's take a look at the feeder cattle market. And on the feeders, we have the April contract $1.90 lower now at 128.15. You know what? That is already $2.50 or more off of its earlier low. We have May down 230 at 128.85. How about lean hogs? Now, hogs actually were trading on the open. They were not as far down as cattle were. We had the April lean hogs now down just $1.02 at 64.90. It's about $2 off of its earlier low this morning. We have the May contract down 128 at 70.10. So big bounces off of their earlier knee-jerk reaction lows. How optimistic are you that they can turn around? I mean, who knows what we could do by the end of the day?
That's very true. Last week, I learned some information from some gentlemen that appeared to, had the coronavirus not taken place, the U.S. was on track for a really good year in the beef market. Australia is now going into expansion that will pull all of their female cows out of the kill cycle, put them back in the breed cycle, and the U.S. was set to take up any of that business that Australia left in a void from their expansion. So, in all honesty, the cattle market's in really good shape. Had this corona scare not come about and panicked everyone, and this is really not trading cattle. This is trading money right now because people are either in a large profit position or a large loss position, and they're having to move in order to curtail that or to solidify one of the two. And that's what we're looking at today. And the large trading volumes is probably more just having to either get out or get in, one of the two. But from the cattle standpoint, it still looks really good.
Wow. Okay. Lots at work, and thanks for coming in.
Absolutely,
I'm really
sir.
glad you came in person to talk about all this.
Absolutely.
Maybe keep calmer heads
Always glad to
prevailing
be
a little bit here. I appreciate that, as they say, keep your head about you when all others are losing theirs. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. Chris Swift of Swift Trading Incorporated right here in Nashville. There you go.
All right, gentlemen, as always, thank you very much for the insight.